Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Hammer Territory podcast. This is episode 365. My name is Brad Rowland, and I'm joined on a Sunday evening like a warm blanket by Scott Coleman. Scott, what is the sorcery? The Braves have won back-to-back Sunday night games. How are we feeling?
Hello, Brad. We're feeling really good. And I mean, this Braves team, what a start. Like, I think we were all optimistic that this team was going to bounce back after not only a down 2025, but I was kind of going down memory lane and, they started out really well in 2024, but it was pretty rough from like the middle of May on. The offense was bad. They had injuries. Like 2024, even though they made the playoffs, was not all roses and daisies. And then we know how bad last year was, but such a good start, 15-7, coming off a sweep of the Phillies. Just everything about this team has been good so far, and it has been so much fun to watch.
I would strongly agree with that characterization. It was a fun weekend. It's been a fun week. It's been a fun season so far, and that will be the theme in a moment as we mix it up, engineered by our friends at Fastenal. The Atlanta Braves execute a weekend sweep over their bitter rival Philadelphia Phillies. That's kind of where we'll begin on today's pod. And I mean, the vibes are immaculate right now, Scott. It's not exactly our resting state, the two of us. I would actually include Stephen Tolbert in that as well, the three of us. Sean is a much more positive human being, but not a resting state usually to be this excited. But the Braves are 15-7, the second best record in baseball. And more importantly, they've won 5 in a row, 9 of the last 11, including busting out the brooms in Philadelphia on the road. And they're probably their biggest like showcase series so far this season. A couple of national TV games, and they go in there and just, it wasn't entirely smooth sailing, but they were the better team very clearly. And it's been quite a start of the season that was punctuated by this weekend.
It really has. And I mean, just across the board with this team, offense has been great. The defense, man alive. I mean, every night the Braves are making big time defensive plays. I mean, Acuna tonight had a fantastic running catch at the warning track to probably save the game, if we're being honest. Some great defense seemingly every night. There's a play or two. Even, on Sunday night, even Austin Riley, like kind of sneakily had maybe the play of the game with a fantastic throw across the diamond to keep the inning at bay and keep the Braves ahead. Defensively, they've been great. And then the pitching. I mean, what more can you say about this pitching staff? Maybe the stat of the season so far. The Braves have played 22 baseball games so far. In those 22 games, in 12 of them, they have allowed 2 runs or fewer. They also have 4 shutouts, which leads all of Major League Baseball. Again, man, in more than half of their games so far, they have allowed 2 runs or fewer just across the board. It has been so good. 5 wins in a row, 9 out of the last 11. I mean, they are really firing, and they've really started to distance themselves in the East, even if it is still early. I mean, every single game you can distance yourself between the Mets and the Phillies, the Marlins, the Nationals. You absolutely take it.
I am wary of what I'm about to say because I don't want to be accused of the reverse jinx, but the Mets haven't won a game in about 2 weeks. This is a Braves segment, but we have to just say that out loud. The Mets have lost 11 straight games. That's outrageous. But the stat that I'm about to share that you just teed up for me beautifully is the one that would rival the run prevention stat that you shared. I can't believe this is true. I just double checked it twice to make sure it was correct. And look, it's April 19th as we're recording this, April 20th if you're listening to this podcast on Monday. It's very early. The old saying about don't check the standings until Memorial Day, it's been, that's not always like gospel, but I get it. It's super early. If you're a listener to the podcast regularly, you'll know we're not trying to take a victory lap at any point in time. I promise you that. With that said, this stat's insane. Right now, the Braves have a 5-game lead in the National League East. That's a huge lead on April 19th. That's first and foremost. 5-game lead by the middle of April is outrageous. Beyond that, to drive the point home how crazy that is, the largest lead in any other division right now in Major League Baseball as of Sunday night is 0.5. As in a half-game lead is the largest lead in any other division, and the Braves are up by 5.
Wow.
I don't even know what to say about that. I mean, does it matter? No. Is anything over? Absolutely not. There's a lot of baseball to be played. I promise you that. They have 140 more baseball games. But I mean, when you have that kind of cushion this fast, and part of that's because the rest of the East is kind of floundered. I mean, I joke about the Mets to some degree, but they shouldn't be this bad. The Phillies are not playing great baseball, but part of that's the Braves are playing awesome baseball. So it's a combination of all those factors, but they are playing at a super high level to the point where only the Dodgers have a like resume that you would say is even comparable to the Braves, if not better. And that's not a bad place to be, not a bad zip code to be in at any point, basically.
It's fair to say that, sure, it's only been 22 games of a 162 game season, but it's also been 22 games. I mean, 15% of a season, roughly, at this point in the calendar. And again, really good and just under the hood. If they were 15-7, but the run differential was way lower than what it was, or if they had just a ridiculously easy schedule where they had played, the Rockies and the White Sox and pick the three other worst teams in baseball, but they've played solid competition so far. Everything under the hood looks great. And as we know, they're not even close to being healthy right now. I mean, if they could take all of the injured pitchers on the injured list right now and make a rotation, it would be like a top 15, top 20 rotation in baseball. And you're still waiting on those guys to get back. Sean Murphy's getting closer. Ha-Sung Kim is getting closer. You have all these talented pitchers in AAA who could be coming up at any point. Like, it feels like even if some of the early season stars cool down a bit, and sure, I don't know if Dom Smith is going to have a 1200 OPS the rest of the way, but you would also think that Ronald Acuna Jr. really hasn't gotten going yet. Like, inevitably, he's going to get going. I think Mike Yastrzemski has shown some signs of life, especially against right-handed pitching lately. Austin Riley has figured some things out. Michael Harris, who we're going to talk about, has figured some things out. So sure, maybe there's some regression coming for some of the roster, but I also think there's a lot of progression coming from other parts, and you're going to get healthier. It's just really hard not to be excited about this team right now.
It's 100% true. And yeah, even if that's a great way to frame it, even if you build in some of the regression, I think it probably is coming on the run prevention side along the way. They should be able to hit at a high level based on what the talent indicates, based on what the underlying numbers indicate, the guys who are in for an uptick, like Ronald Acuna, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, maybe they don't win 15 out of every 22 games the rest of the season. Maybe they don't win out of every 11, but they are a good baseball team, which is a refreshing thing after what happened last season. So we will stop with the full-on effusive love fest now, but they earned it with the way they played. You win 5 in a row, 9 of 11, and sweep your rival on the road. You kind of have to come out and say how fun it was to watch and how good they've played so far.
Last Sunday at the top of the show, we did a 3-up, 3-down segment. And as I was thinking about the show, it's like, okay, maybe we do 3-up, 3-down. And to be completely honest with you, Brad, I don't know if I could come up with 3 down segments for the Braves right now. Like, I would probably have to cheat and maybe pick the Phillies and the Mets as being down, or, I mean, sure, you could probably pick on 1 or 2 players. But again, man, it's just been very largely positive, a lot of fun, and it's a lot of baseball to go, 140 games. But through the first 3.5 weeks, you really could not ask for much more.
Absolutely. And we will be diving into what transpired over the weekend in a moment. First of all, though, I want to shout out our friends at Fastenal, Fastenal Industrial Supplies, Innovative Solutions. If you want to learn more, visit fastenal.com. Okay, Scott, let us dive into what transpired over the weekend. 3 wins, obviously. Friday night was the breeziest of the victories, and it came on Martin Perez night. You don't always assume the 5th starter for this Braves team is going to be leading the Braves to a comfortable win. It wasn't all because of him. And we did acknowledge, even on our preview, I know with Grant and also you and I last week, the Braves were facing the Phillies' weakest starter on Friday night. So it wasn't like they had a huge mismatch, but 9-0 is 9-0. And hey, Martin Perez didn't seem overly thrilled that he had been DFA'd in some of the comments that he made. He was just kind of pretty candid about that. But he was also like, hey, I'm back. Let's do this thing. And he pitched really well, and it was a combined shutout. And you shut the Phillies out on the road like you're doing something right.
Hey, combined shutout from Martin Perez and Jose Suarez.
Your guy, Jose Suarez, famously. Scott
That
Coleman is a
is
Jose Suarez enthusiast. deep
That's
down.
right. I'm
So
getting me a jersey here any day. But no, shouts to those guys. I mean, they really set the tone for the series. The first couple innings, Perez was really in and out of danger. I think he loaded the bases in the first inning, and it was like, oh boy, the Braves took an early lead, and it sure felt like Perez was going to give it right back. But as a veteran and somebody who's pretty crafty out there, found a way to get out of it and then really cruised after those first couple of innings. I mean, man alive, the Phillies. How many runs did the Phillies score this weekend? They were shut out on Friday. They scored 1 run on Saturday
three,
and two,
yeah.
yeah, 3 runs all weekend long. And shouts to Perez and Suarez who set the tone. Shouts to the Braves bullpen, which, I mean, is this the best bullpen in baseball? I mean, I think statistically it is, but even just like beyond the first 3.5 weeks of statistics, I mean, they have two legitimate closers at the end. Dylan Lee is one of the best lefty relievers in the game. Tyler Kinley has been great. And we know they have more waiting in the wings in Gwinnett. Like this bullpen, shouts to the whole pitching staff. But, on a night where the Braves didn't give up any runs, it was also good to see the offense really come to life and back the pitchers up.
I'm going to do this carefully after you made fun of me last time we talked about the bullpen for some phrasing. The bullpen has been fantastic so far. They have the second best ERA in all of baseball, number one in whip, number one in walks, all these numbers across the board. And you're right. It's a crazy, almost luxury that you have three guys at the end of your bullpen. And I do mean Dylan Lee is part of that. Full stop, part of that. Dylan Lee is a fantastic reliever. And if you can just shorten the game, I mean, we'll talk about it when we get to Sunday's game. If the whole theory of shortening the game to basically 6 innings is that you could turn it over to your big three at the end and close things out. And that happened again today. So yeah, huge shout outs to everybody involved there. Jose Suarez not necessarily a part of that, but he was on Friday, and a breezy win. On the offensive side, we should shout out Austin Riley, who homered twice, Dom Smith, who is headed to Cooperstown any minute, homered once again on Friday. And then you gave the little bit of a tease about Michael Harris earlier. Look, Michael Harris has been good, like full stop, and it doesn't seem to be fake. Obviously, the walk jokes write themselves, but when Michael Harris hits the ball, he is rocketing the ball, which is makes up for a lot of weaknesses other places when you just hit the ball really hard all the time.
Michael Harris had some really good batted ball numbers coming into the weekend, but really didn't have much to show for it, statistically speaking. And usually, if you hit the baseball hard and your exit velocities are high and your expected numbers are good, eventually the numbers are going to come. And we really started to see some of that over the weekend in Philadelphia. And quietly, after a home run on Friday and then a 3 for 3 with a walk on Sunday night, Michael Harris is now up to 290 with a 338 on base and a 478 slugging percentage on the season, a 127 WRC plus, which is fantastic. We know the defense is good. And if Mike can just keep hitting the ball the way he's done, he's also, I think, since he returned from the paternity list, I think he's drawn 3 or 4 walks in the last few games, which is goodness gracious, that is a massive thing for Michael Harris. Really good signs for Mike, and happy that kind of the underlying data finally started to show itself in games because he was probably the MVP on Sunday night.
Yeah, huge game, and he's always had the potential. You just got to figure it out, and I'll leave it a little bit of play discipline goes a whole long way for Michael Harris, and he showed more of that in recent days. Let's talk about Saturday's game as well. It wasn't quite as breezy. The Braves to take advantage of a big error early in the game that accounted for I believe all three of the runs they scored in the game. It was a 3-1 victory. I will note that Ronald Acuna Jr. was robbed of a home run literally on the first batter of the game, or it might have been. How many of those does Ronnie have already this year where he's hit like a 405-foot fly out? It just keeps happening over and over again to him.
Yeah, he's like a collective, I don't know, 10 feet from having 3 or 4 more home runs this year. Yeah, I mean, just very on par. I think Ronald has not looked great in the first 3.5 weeks of the season, but similarly to Michael Harris, his batted ball data looks good, and I can't believe that ball did not get out to start the game on Saturday night.
Yeah, there was a whole conversation about the low fence out there too, just the way it was able to be played, but also the dead center field. Like it's a little bit unlucky when you hit it like to the one spot on the ballpark when it doesn't go out. I think Statcast had it as maybe going out in like 11 ballparks, something like that, a third of the ballparks. So anyway, Ronald will be fine. No one's worried about Ronald whatsoever. But yeah, offensively, it wasn't this great game on Saturday by any means. They left 11 guys on base. And that gets us to Chris Sale, and Chris Sale is regularly a hero of this team. He's the one starter that no one worries about whatsoever. But he was once again awesome on Saturday. He hasn't been like AA plus 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 Sale this year. He was the one starter. I said with Graham a little bit on Thursday. He was the one starter that has underlying numbers that weren't like clearly a little bit scary compared to their actual performance. But hey, you just rolls out of bed, 7 innings, 1 run, and lights up the Phillies lineup in a way that you would hope that he would, because when you don't score a ton of runs, nice to line that up with Chris Sale on the mound, because Chris Sale doesn't need a lot of runs.
Yeah. Chris really had the slider working, and that was something that Adam Wainwright in the booth was talking about a lot. And obviously, Waino knows a whole lot about pitching, but really, I thought that was the best that Sale's slider looked all season long and had it working. And he also worked into the seventh inning. He completed 7 innings, which was a really good sign. Only the one run given up was the very first at bat to a rookie. And of course, he homered. And it's like, you know what, good for him. Cool
Yeah.
moment. But other than that solo homer, to the first row of Citizens Bank Park, which, man alive, how many first row home runs has that ballpark seen over the years between the Braves and the Phillies? But regardless, really good start from Sale. And a tip of the cap, Chris Sale passed Tom Glavine in all-time strikeouts, number 2,608, which moved Sale now is 29th all-time. I think he's like one away from number 28, so he'll move beyond that in his next start. And I mean, 2608. He has a real chance, knock on wood, assuming his health cooperates. I think Sale's going to probably get to 300 strikeouts, which is just a remarkable accomplishment.
Yeah, he is remarkable, and he was the biggest story on Saturday, and what became a nice win. I will note that we'll talk about this more when we get to Sunday's game. There was a little bit of a discussion after the game Saturday because Raisel Iglesias did not pitch in the ninth inning of a close game, and people were like, "Oh, what's going on here?" It was Robert Suarez, who it's great to have Robert Suarez to throw in the ninth inning, but it came out pretty quickly after that Iglesias reportedly slept on his shoulder wrong the night before. Who among us, Scott?
Yeah.
Rysel is almost as old as I am, not quite, but almost, and that could happen to me. That seems relatable to me. But because he pitched today, it's not a concern. It seems like anymore. Like it wasn't like he was his absolute best self tonight, but he seemed to be fine. His velo was fine, all those things. So a little bit of an exhale, but there was like a 10-minute period of like, what's going on here with Rysel Iglesias? IL,
Yeah.
anything weird? But it seems like he's fine. So exhale.
Yeah, very much a 30 some odd year old injury, sleeping on your shoulder wrong. I mean, who hasn't at this point? I'm a little younger than you, Brad, and I sleep weirdly and my neck hurts for like 4 days. What are you gonna do? Um, Shouts to Dylan Lee, great eighth inning, and shouts to Robert Suarez, who filled in the ninth inning for Iglesias. Robert Suarez is disgusting. I mean, in the most complimentary ways possible. This dude is a joke. Like, come on, man. He throws a 101-mile-an-hour fastball. And I wanted to mention this too. And a couple people pointed this out. And it was like, oh, so Robert Suarez is apparently now throwing a cutter. And he's thrown it a decent amount in the early going of the season. So I went back and looked. So when Suarez came over, he was pitching in Japan and then joined the Padres in 2022. Suarez did throw the cutter a little bit. I think it was like 8 to 10% in his first season. But then he basically stopped throwing it in the 4 seasons beyond that. And I don't know if it's Jeremy Hefner maybe had an idea of, hey, maybe you should throw this 95-mile-an-hour cutter that moves. Because, I mean, what are you supposed to do against Suarez? You have a 100-mile-an-hour fastball that nobody hits. You have a 95-mile-an-hour cutter that just takes the hardest left turn you can imagine. And then he also works in like this changeup that's 10 miles an hour slower than the fastball and has opposite movement. I mean, I don't know how you're supposed to hit him, and just looked really, really good. He looked good again on Sunday night as well. And I mean, again, we're not even a month into a 3-year contract, but it looks so good for Suarez right now.
Yeah, the answer is you don't hit him. Hopefully, if you're the Braves, and I can't imagine. I mean, this is the case for everybody. I understand that, but he is particularly nasty. I don't feel like he has the air. He has kind of the aura that you want of a late inning reliever when you feel really confident when he's out there. Like, oh, these guys are hitting him tonight. It's not going to happen. And maybe he'll have a rough night. At some point, he's going to have a blow up. Everybody does. But I feel really good about him at the end of the game. Oh, one more thing about Saturday we should get to quickly is that the Braves had some ABS success on Saturday. That was a
Finally,
rarity. That's like the one thing that actually been mad about this season has been the ABS challenges. Not Saturday.
Yeah, it's funny. The Braves went 4 for 4 in challenges on Saturday night, and it actually moved them up. So I think they were either dead last or second to worst in ABS challenges. But after going 4 for 4 and getting a couple of them right on Sunday as well, I think now they're like 23rd in the league in ABS. So baby steps. I got to say, I love ABS. Being able to challenge pitches, it's been such a welcome addition. I think you feel similarly, Brad. Please stop me if you don't. I think a lot of fans would probably feel similarly. It's fast. You get it within like 4 seconds. It's just two feels like the right number. Maybe you get one more in there later in games. Maybe teams get like one more challenge after the seventh inning or something like that. But shouts to ABS. Just another fantastic change.
Yeah, I agree. It's awesome. Robodumps in full is the next step if they need to do that. But I like it where it is now. I think challenges make sense. I do like a little bit of framing in my life. Like all those
Me
things are
too.
fine, and it's a good mix. And the speed of it, like you reference, is makes it where it's like hard to complain. Even if you don't like it, it's like it doesn't hurt you in any way. It takes very little time.
Yeah.
You're not challenging every pitch. If it was unlimited, it'd be like, all right, this is kind of exhausting, but it's not. So there's
Right.
strategy to it, all those things.
Yeah, no complaints. It's been really, really good. I mean, even like on Sunday night, Ozzy Albies was called out on strike three on a pitch that was a foot north of the zone. I mean, I don't even think they gave the measurement on the screen. Sometimes if it's like a millimeter off the zone, they show how far out it is. They didn't even show the distance because it was so egregious. That's what ABS is here for. If there's a fringe pitch, I think the human element of the umpire is still a good thing. I've said before, I think a full automated zone would become kind of boring and stale, but the ability to challenge the most egregious of calls is really, really good.
Yeah, for some reason, Ozzy got Matt Olson's strike zone on that pitch, which is a little bit strange.
Yeah,
Uh,
added a
we'll leave
foot.
it there for now. Yeah, a little bit odd on that front. All right, there's more to come, including a big one on Sunday, injury updates, a preview of what's to come this week, and more. We'll get to all of that after a word from our partners on today's podcast. Summer is coming, and I'm always trying to find the best deal on Braves tickets when I'm trying to go down there over the summer. That's a big reason. That's why I want to give a massive shout out to our sponsor on today's podcast. That's the good folks at SeatGeek. They have over 35 million downloads already. SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. There are more than 70,000 events listed on SeatGeek right now, including concerts and sports, festivals, and more. Of course, baseball is rocking and rolling right now. NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, NFL draft is on the horizon. And now World Cup tickets are also available on SeatGeek as well. And they are the official ticket marketplace of MLB, which means your tickets are fully guaranteed and instantly fulfilled in your account after you are purchasing them. And I love using SeatGeek for many reasons, but one of those reasons is that SeatGeek always has your back as well. Every ticket is rated on a scale of 1 to 10, so you actually know if you're getting a good deal. So that means you're looking for the green dots. Green means good, red means bad at SeatGeek. Plus, every single ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee. And of course, we have a code for you guys with SeatGeek. You can use code Territory10. That's Territory10 for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. 10% off any tickets with promo code Territory10. And make sure you click the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so that you can use it later. Shout out to SeatGeek for sponsoring today's episode. Okay, Scott, let's dive back into the game on Sunday evening. I almost said afternoon out of habit. It was another evening game for the Braves.
I will say, yeah, one quick note. I'm sorry to cut you off. We've had
Go ahead.
back-to-back Sunday night games, which frankly I don't love. I think most fans would prefer the 1:35 first pitch with Brandon and CJ in the booth.
It was long tonight too, by the way. Oh,
It was.
glacial.
It was. And which is so funny to say. I think it was like 3 hours and 5 minutes, which nowadays feels like an eternity for a baseball game. But I mean, shouts to the pitch clock because I mean, that used to be the average length of games and we are well below it now. But yes, one quick note. I think they only have one more Sunday night game, and it's actually the Little League Field of Dreams game, I think. And that's not for months from now. And then they are on Sunday Night Baseball in quotations, but one of them I think is the 4th of July or the 5th of July. And then the other one is later in the year against the Phillies, but it's a 3 p.m. Eastern time start. So for a long time, we are done with these 7:20 p.m. Eastern time Sunday night first pitches.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. Not only for podcast purposes, We end up recording late at night sometimes anyway, even if it's an afternoon game, just because of schedules and Scott's on the West Coast and all those things. But I do like to have Brandon and CJ. I do like to have a little daylight with my baseball on the Sunday afternoons. But alas, we talked about Michael Harris already having a big game on this podcast. The Braves scored three runs in the fourth inning. My apologies. Not exactly the most like high powered game offensively. There was a swinging bunt that helped along the way. Ozzy, shouts to our guy Ozzy, who we just made fun of for being short in a roundabout way. I love you, Ozzy. You're my guy. But it wasn't like it was a blowout. Grant Holmes, not the best. I mean, it was an interesting game. I don't know about you. I never felt particularly comfortable
Hmm.
all the way through Sunday night's game. The Rays were losing also. Like we exchanged texts. I'm not afraid to share that. To say, oh, here we go. Might be a little bit of an interesting night when they got down 2-0. But in on brand fashion so far this season, they rallied and put it away. And hey, get it to the bullpen, and you're good.
Yeah. Yeah, it did not start well. I think within about 6 pitches, Grant Holmes had given up a single to Trey Turner and another first row home run in CBP to Kyle Schwarber, and it was like, all right, we're due for a bad game.
Here
Maybe
we
the
go.
Phillies are gonna yeah, here we go. Gonna be a long night. But credit to Grant Holmes, he settled in, only gave up 2 hits and 1 walk from that moment on the rest of the way. And really interesting once again, Walt Weiss was hyper aggressive with his bullpen. So to set the stage, fifth inning, Holmes is now seeing Schwarber and Harper for the third time, only at 81 pitches. And instead of letting Holmes continue to face Schwarber and Harper, again, 81 pitches, had only given up 2 runs, would not have been crazy to leave Grant out there to keep going and try to save the bullpen a little bit. Walt went out, pulled him for Aaron Bummer, and even though Schwarber, honestly, it wasn't even that bad of a pitch, Schwarber doubled, but then Bummer induced a ground out from a fantastic play from Austin Riley to end the threat. So again, just another theme of the early season is that Walt is not afraid to go to his bullpen early. And in the moment, I thought it was the right call and it ultimately worked out.
Yeah, we've said this before a couple times, and I know Steve and Sean have as well. Like, I'm all for a little bit of aggression. When you have this great bullpen, let's use it. You know what I mean?
Use
Like
it.
they're, absolutely. And the starters that he's done it with, it's not like he's taking Chris Sale out in the fifth inning. Chris Sale is going to have a longer leash, and he should. He's
Right.
he's their guy. But Grant Holmes, Bryce Elder, I know Bryce has been great this year. I'm not saying otherwise, but he's not at the level where you like have this ultimate long leash with him. So yeah, get aggressive, and it's worked out. And credit to Walt for, this week in particular, they have no off days. So we'll see if that kind of continues, or if he's a little bit more careful to try to manage the bullpen. But I think it's been correctly navigated so far from Weiss. And I think you already mentioned the Austin Riley ridiculous play. We should focus on
Yeah.
even more. Like it's just what a play from Riley. And our guy Grant McCauley was really talking up Austin's defense on the show, and we talked on Thursday. And I went back even after we talked, and just like the numbers back it up too. Like he said, a very strong season defensively so far, and it's part of the whole scheme. But that was one of those plays that you have to just like center in the frame to say, hey, this might have flipped. I mean, between that and Ronnie getting the last out, those two plays might have swung the game. I mean, probably did swing the game. So
Oh,
that's
yeah.
pretty notable for defense.
So just to quickly recap. So Schwarber doubles off of Aaron Bummer. You have runners on second and third. You're winning by 2 runs at that point, and you have Bryce Harper. And I don't care. Harper could be 0 for 100, and he would still terrify me. I'm amazed he ever makes an out. Bummer throws a good pitch. Harper kind of softly hits it down the third base line, but Riley has to one, field the ball against his body and then fires a perfect one bouncer across the diamond. Good on Matt Olson. It was a little bit of a short hop, and he was able to snag it and just hold on to it. Beats Harper at first base by about a foot. If Riley does not make that play, a run scores. It's 4-3. You have runners on the corner, and then you have Adolis Garcia coming in, who is a really good right-handed hitter against left-handed pitching. And Bummer had only faced 2 batters at that point, so there was no rescuing Aaron Bummer. And who knows if Riley doesn't make that play. Maybe Garcia comes up and hits a ball in the gap. All of a sudden, the Phillies are winning. Maybe the entire game has changed. Nobody scored from that point on either. So, to me, I mean, you mentioned it a minute ago. The 2 plays of the game, huge tip of the cap to Riley, and then a fantastic running catch on the warning track by Acuna to end the game.
Rysell did not make it easy in the
Hmm.
ninth. I think our guy Steven's reference on Twitter was he chose the adventurous route this evening. Um, it wasn't like an all-time great play by Ronnie, but he broke on it right. That's one of the things that Ronnie is not known for, honestly, is like routes and coverage in the outfield. Huge
Yeah.
arm, obviously, but he broke right immediately, right place, right time. He's obviously still athletic when he wants to turn it on and save the game. I mean, it was a hard hit ball. It's Schwarber. He tattooed one, and if that drops, it's a new game again.
Yeah.
So
Well, and
huge.
that's pretty damn close to how he tore his ACL 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I know
Yep.
it's been 5 years, but there's got to be something just in the back of his mind that's like, oh, be careful here. But yeah, and also on, I think it was Friday night, Acuna went the other way to the right center gap and made a fantastic catch on the run. It saved at least one run. I think StatCast had it as only a 25% catch probability, which is really, really hard to do. So yeah, Ronald had a fantastic series defensively in right field. And again, just goes back to offense, defense, pitching across the board. It's been very complimentary baseball in the early going for the Braves, and just cannot say enough good things.
Run prevention is in theory just as important as run scoring. Got to do one or the other or both, and
Yeah.
it's pretty important.
Yeah. +1 for
Um,
Riley, +1 for Acuna tonight.
and the Braves are still leading all of the National League. I believe maybe all of baseball. Yeah, all of baseball in runs allowed. And you can't. It's not only pitching. Defense is a part of that as well because they help pitch staff quite a bit. So that's kind of the breakdown of the weekend series. 3 wins, 5 in a row, all those numbers still in play. There's a little bit of news we can get to. We should have more to add, Scott, on the on-field product. Um, Injury updates. Nothing is imminent, but Hassan Kim is taking live BP again and scheduled to play in a sim game, I believe Thursday. He could be back within, I mean, not like on the field in the majors, but could be on a field in a competitive game within the next week to 10 days in a minor league game, probably. Step forward there. I know, insert joke here about how Mauricio Dubon is doing just fine, but they need Hassan Kim back, ideally, to make this team the best that it can be. And then Strider and Murphy, who are already on the rehab assignments, are both playing in Gwinnett. So that's a step up in competition on Tuesday. So that's a couple things to watch for, obviously, and nothing you have to sell about having Strider back. Obviously, that would be helpful, even with the Braves having this great run prevention numbers so far. Murphy, more of a split, I know, but Murphy will still help you. Murphy's a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
better than Jonah Heim. Murphy's a lot better than Jonah Heim, everybody. So no matter what you think about Sean Murphy, every time it comes up, I know I'm triggered by this. Every time it comes up, like, oh, Sean Murphy stinks. No, he doesn't. And he's better than Jonah Heim. So we could just agree on that much, if nothing else.
Yes. And, there was also an interesting bit of news that came down on Sunday. So
Oh,
in
yeah.
Gwinnett, Didier Fuentes was a healthy scratch. So Didier was supposed to start for the Stripers.
Another
And
worrying moment, by the way, when he was scratched, everyone was like, wait, what's going on here?
oh no, here we go. Oh no, what's wrong? Is it the elbow? Is it the shoulder? Is he missing? What's wrong with Didier Fuentes? But it was a healthy scratch, which was intentional by the team. Mark Bowman, MLB.com and Braves beat reporter, kind of opined that by giving a healthy scratch for Fuentes, it kind of gives you two things. Number one, it gives you flexibility with his live arm as the Braves play 10 games in 10 days. They do not have an off day. So you could, at some point, call Didier up if you feel like you need it, either for the rotation or the bullpen. It also limits his innings. It's, 5 to 7 fewer innings that he has to throw in mid-late April. And you can be sure the Braves are going to keep an eye on Didier's total number of innings this year. And if things keep going well, and they have very important innings in August and September and October, well, you're going to want Didier Fuentes and that big time fastball that he has to be available and not feel like you have to cool him down because he's already at 175 innings when you're playing your most important games of the year. So a big exhale when Didier wasn't pitching. It was like, oh no, here we go. Now it begins. But all good on that front. And we'll see. Maybe he does get called up at some point in the next week or so if the Braves feel like they need the live arm.
Yeah, as long as he is healthy and everyone says he is, so I'm fine with that. Doing this with Fuentes makes total sense to me. I know that there's a whole discussion to be had about coddling young pitchers, and I'm not someone who's always saying you have to be incredibly careful, but if you want to have access to Didier Fuentes, which you're probably going to want to in August, September, even October potentially, he's not gonna be able to throw every fifth day all season long. And at his age, they're probably not going to want him to do that at full go every fifth day.
Yeah.
At least they would not prefer to have that happen. So giving him a break, maybe having him up in the bullpen at some point, I'm fine with that. You're not babying him, but let's be realistic. Most teams agree you don't want your 21-year-old, 20-year-old suddenly throwing 185, 200 innings. Like, it's just not going to happen. So I'm okay with it. And we'll see how they handle it. Because right now, I mean, we kind of thought, talking behind the scenes, like maybe they would just, pop him in the probables after that as a starter. They did not do that. They did shake it up, which we'll talk about in a second. But yeah, I'm okay with it. Even if he doesn't pitch in the majors, I will not be bothered whatsoever that they kind of skipped him one single net. That's fine.
Totally. Yeah, I'm sure Didier will throw a bullpen in a couple of days, keep the arm going. But yeah, it's big exhale. But I have a feeling that sooner rather than later, we're going to see Fuentes in Atlanta in some kind of a role.
I just saw a funny note on the document that I know that you added because I didn't, about farewell, sweet prince to Osvaldo Bido, who was DFA'd and then claimed.
Yes.
Very not huge sad news for the Braves, but that made me laugh just the way you put it on there. So wanted to shout that out. Osvaldo Bido, no longer in the organization, now a White Sox. It was a mailbag question. I can't remember who sent it in, but it actually happened multiple times. We've been asked to talk about this. So very briefly, the Braves early in the year had some issues against a couple of starters in the major leagues, and it was not huge names. And we did note like they're pretty good pitchers. We got a question basically saying, "Hey, have you guys talked about the fact that the Braves offense, which has basically been awesome, floundered against Jose Soriano, and I believe it's Messick from the Guardians and Michael Soroka. All three of them are having great seasons, and they wanted us to talk about that. So hey, they are. So it does make the Braves look better that they were only kind of silenced by three guys who were red hot so far. So, especially Soriano, he's been ridiculous.
Yeah, Soriano has been, maybe the best pitcher in baseball this year. Whenever the Braves got mowed down by him, it was like, okay, no, maybe not a household name, but Soriano. Parker Messick from Cleveland has been similarly one of the best starters in baseball. And then old friend Michael Soroka has been fantastic as well. So you think about this offense, not only has it been very, very good, one of the very best, but they have weirdly kind of run into some of the very best pitchers, at least early on in the year. And I don't know. If you would have told me that early in the season, Jose Soriano and Parker Messick and old friend Mike Soroka would be three of the more efficient and effective starters, then I don't know if I'd necessarily believe you, but it really does go to show that even though the Braves on offense have had a couple of down nights, they have faced some of the best of the best, even if they are not well-known names.
Atlanta has lost 7 games this season, and 3 of them are against those 3 guys who all have ERAs in like the ones or whatever. So, just want to say that out loud. Good question. And we did notice. We didn't talk about it a lot, but we did notice that, and it is worth bringing up. All right, Scott, before we get out of here, 4-game series on the horizon for the Braves in the nation's capital against the Nationals. As discussed, no day off this week. I'm reading again your notes. Washington has been scoring runs. Their pitching staff has some ugliness in the profile so far. That's probably the easiest scouting report on the Nationals. They have not been able to pitch thus far through a month of the season. So we'll see if that continues.
Weird baseball team. The Nationals are very clearly rebuilding. They're, to be blunt, years away from competing with Atlanta and New York and Philadelphia. But weird baseball team. The Nationals are 10-12, which is good for tied for second in the division as we speak. Washington has scored 121 runs this year, which is only 1 run fewer than the Atlanta Braves. So we know how good the Braves offense has been. That's really impressive. However, this is shocking. This season, the Braves have given up 65 runs. In the same number of games, the Nationals have given up 134 runs. So more than double.
Yeah.
Again, 66 runs for the Braves. 65 runs for the Braves, 134 for Washington, which is the worst in the National League. They've played a lot of high-scoring games. Hopefully the Braves can go in there and keep the bats rolling. Their rotation is pretty void of household names. They traded Mackenzie Gore. Their bullpen has been bad for years, but they do have some real hitters, and we got to keep the pitching rolling and hopefully able to calm their bats down a little bit.
Yeah, just to put the the ERA number on that. They have a 5.65 team ERA this season. And the
Damn.
Nats have allowed the most home runs in baseball by a wide margin. They've allowed 39 home runs in 22 games.
Wow.
That's a lot of home runs. For instance, the Braves have allowed, I'm scrolling down, 17 home runs this season. So, yeah. As far as matchups are concerned, Bryce Elder moves up a day. They're giving Lopez an extra day of rest, which I'm fine with. Ronaldo coming off the long-term injury makes total sense. Elder has a rubber arm, knock on wood. So that makes total logical sense to me. He's also been really good this season. He faces Jake Irvin on Monday. Then it's Foster Griffin against Ronaldo Lopez on Tuesday. Zach Littell against Martin Perez on Wednesday. And then Chris Sale takes the ball in, I believe is it an afternoon getaway day spot on Thursday? Your
Yeah.
favorite? I think it's like lunchtime baseball for Scott Coleman on the West Coast.
That sounds right. And, again, Jake Irvin, Foster Griffin. Griffin's actually been pretty good this year. Zach Littell was a late signing in the spring, has been awful. I think his ERA is nearly 8. And then
Hey,
Cade.
I have to do mea culpa. I wanted the Braves to sign Zach Littell, and he has not been very good. So hand
I
raised. If you're not watching on YouTube, I'm raising my hand on that one. I missed on that one. So we'll see how that goes. But hey, I'm willing to own that right here on the podcast.
I personally was never quite
You
at
did not.
Zach
That's why I
Littell.
said. That's why I said. I Brad Rowland wanted
Yeah.
not. Look, I was not eager to sign Zach Littell. He was like my 17th option. I thought they should have signed him at the end. That would not have gone well so far, by all accounts. And
Well,
maybe the Braves would have fixed him in some ways, and the Nationals did not. But so far, I was wrong on that one.
yeah,
So
when you lose 3 of your 5 projected starting pitchers, 9 days into the spring, we all get a little stir crazy. But yeah, hopefully you mentioned just awful numbers for the Nats pitching staff. Hopefully you just keep scoring runs on them. The Braves are going to need to score runs because CJ Abrams, their shortstop, has been fantastic this year. James Wood is terrifying. I mean, that guy is, man, for being such a young hitter, James Wood is as good as it gets in the National League. And they have some other players too who you've never heard of who have OPSs of 900 so far. They're going to calm down a bit, and hopefully that starts this upcoming week. But so far the Braves have not lost a series. Let's keep it rolling. Sure, it's a 4-game series. I guess you can objectively say 2-2 would not be the end of the world, but the Braves are playing so well. You'd really like to think they could take 3 out of 4 in Washington and get home with a fantastic road trip under their belts.
yeah, I to stay on brand as myself. I think anytime if you can go 2-2 on the road against a non-terrible opponent in a series, that's not a disastrous outcome. So I can tell you right now on Thursday night or Wednesday or Friday, whatever it's going to be, I will not say that's bad if they go 2-2. But it's a series you should probably win. I mean, if you're the better team. The Nats, by the way, are one of the 2 teams that is tied for second place in the division right now. They are 5 games behind the Braves, but they are ahead of the Phillies. They are ahead of the Mets. So this isn't like it's not like you're playing who's the worst team in the league, the Rockies. Probably objectively, they haven't been so far, but I think they're probably the worst
Roster-wise,
team
yeah.
in the league.
The Rockies just won back-to-back games against the Dodgers, which is the most
I saw
baseball
that. I
thing.
don't
Yeah.
understand. Yeah, I mean, it's probably on brand for us to say that because I'm a big fan of, hey, these guys are all pros, and even the worst team beats the best team. That's one of the cool things about baseball, honestly. So good shots on that, Scott. But yeah, pick whatever team you're talking about. The Nats are not that. They're not terrible. So that's
Oh, they're
worth
pretty bad.
pointing out.
I mean, they haven't been terrible so far, but they're going to lose.
I'm not saying they're going to be good because they're not, but I think their offense might be legitimately good. Their pitching staff is not legitimately good, so they're probably going to lose 90 games. But I think if you could score the way they've scored so far, I take you at least somewhat seriously in your home ballpark. So yeah, I mean, if the Rays want to go out and sweep the series and have won 9 in a row at the end, that'd be awesome. I wouldn't project that to happen, but I would project probably the most likely outcome is like 2.75 wins out of 4. So
yeah,
cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Take advantage. Hopefully, no. I swear every time the Braves play the Nationals, there is a rain delay, whether
Oh,
real or fake. So I maybe we'll get lucky and avoid the storms in DC for the next couple of days. Nobody, I mean, I thought they were going to delay Sunday Night Baseball when it started to downpour right as first pitch was going to happen. It was like, oh no, and it's already going to be a late night. I mean, that's worth probably noting. I mean, it's already almost midnight on the East Coast. Atlanta's probably not going to get to the hotel in DC till what, 2 a.m. or something. So it'll be a late night. Hopefully the boys are relatively fresh. I'm guessing they probably flew Bryce Elder ahead of time just to avoid him having such a late night. But let's keep it rolling. Keep taking advantage against the East. I mean, the East has been really bad so far. I mean, probably the worst division in baseball outside of Atlanta. Let's keep it rolling. Keep putting distance between yourself and everybody else, and then you get back home for a nice long homestand.
right. Part of why the Braves have the aforementioned biggest lead by far in the division is that the East is the only division where there's not at least two teams that are at 500 or above. The Braves are the only team above 500 or even at 500 right now because the Marlins and Nats are tied for second at 10 and 12 as of this Sunday evening. So, yep, good spot on the horizon. We'll have you covered throughout the week as we always would. Probably not going to be every day. The way we did this past week was a bit of a rarity where I think we had 5 straight days of a show. That doesn't always happen on the feed, and it shouldn't be the projection every single week, but we'll have plenty of content for you. Please go ahead and subscribe to this podcast, Hammer Territory. Just search it in your favorite podcast player, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, etc. Follow us on social media as well if you'd like to at Hammer Territory. Follow Scott Coleman at ScottColeman55 on Twitter. That's correct. All right, we nailed
That's
it.
the one.
I'm at BT Rowland if you want to follow me there, and just tell your friends about the podcast. I know it's a fun time for the Braves, so if you have fans that you know in your life that may not have found our podcast yet, hey, just send a link or a shout out or a text. Say, hey, check out Hammer Territory. We definitely appreciate that organic growth, and it's been a good week, good month on the podcast. Honestly, we're very happy with everything, and we're thankful to you, the listeners and viewers of this podcast, for supporting it. And hey, we understand if the Braves win, generally that is good for our podcast. On top
That's
of just
right.
our personal enjoyment, it's good for the podcast. So go
That's
ahead,
right.
Braves, win games.
And even when the Braves lose, they could lose 15-0 tomorrow. I sure hope not. But even if they lose 15-0 tomorrow, click the
We'll be
button,
here.
download. Yeah, download, watch for 10 minutes on YouTube, patronize our sponsors. It all really helps us out. And as always, we appreciate all the love and support.
Absolutely. All right, Scott, let's get out of here one more time. Subscribe, tell a friend, and we'll see everybody next time.